All right. Well, thanks for joining. Really appreciate it. Today, what we're going to talk about is joyful persistence. So, if you joined last month's webinar, or if you haven't had a chance to check out last month's webinar, we talked about speed to lead and how speed to lead could be your competitive advantage as a clinic. And today, we're going to talk about what we call at Boost joyful persistence. And it's this overarching idea of following up with your new patient leads way more than one time. So, we'll dig into the details of that today. But again, thanks for joining me. All right, just a little bit about myself. I currently live in Texas, in a small city about 6 hours west of Dallas. I absolutely love running ultra marathons. Got a sauna, I don't know, about 4 months back. Absolutely obsessed with that. If we're home, my family and I do it every single evening, and it's a lot of fun to do it together. I am a serial entrepreneur, built a lot of different businesses. I love creating new things, growing things, building teams. Best part about me and my life is my family, my beautiful wife, Lacey, my 14-year-old little girl, Selah, and my son, Case, who's 12. So as you can see, maybe in my background, we love to travel together across the country. And a little fun fact, our team added here, I guess, is I do not like vegetables. Give me steak all day and I could be happy. So just a little bit about me. Just a little bit about our team here. This is our leadership team here on the right. There's another photo of my family. If you haven't connected with us online, please do so. You can follow us on social, follow our podcast, the Patient Conversion Podcast. Actually about to launch a new podcast that we're excited about, so stay tuned for that. Something that you might be interested in is we have monthly workshops and then an annual mastermind. So if you're a doctor or a practice manager, reach out to us about that. As you can see here, we have a really, really good engaged group, and we can give you more information on that. Here's a little glimpse of our monthly workshops that we'll have. Again, we'll have different doctors and practice managers each month join us. Just a little bit about Boost. We've worked with over 90 surgeons and practice administrators over the last 7 years. We have followed up with hundreds of thousands of leads. I was looking at some statistics in 2024 through the month of October, and just the amount of leads that we follow up with is, it's a very high number. And I share that because we get a lot of insight in terms of what works, in terms of following up with new patients and things of that nature. So let's start off by asking, are you in the right spot? Is this webinar for you? So if you're a private practice, if it's an elective surgery, if you're a surgeon, a practice manager, maybe an office admin, patient coordinator, marketing manager, maybe you're in private equity and you own a dozen or 20 or 30 or 40 clinics, you're in the right place. Or maybe you have one of these two goals. You want more patients. Almost everybody I talk to is hyper-focused on growing their patient volume. So if that's you, you're in the right spot. Another thing that we're starting to hear a lot is you have a staffing problem. Whoever's taking your phone calls, whoever's doing new patient follow-up, it's a high turnover role, and you're constantly kind of struggling to keep someone in that role. Or, and we hear this a lot as well, the person you have in that role is wearing 5 hats, and so they're not able to do new lead follow-up effectively because of their busyness. Or maybe you've heard someone in the office say, or another agency say, you need to spend more money on ads. Or maybe you've heard someone say, glad we're getting all these leads, but I'm not seeing any more patients. We often hear doctors say this to their marketing agencies. And so, again, just really glad you're here. So if you're here, it's very likely you want to attract and convert more value surgical patients. If you stick around, there's a couple of things. You can shoot me an email. I'll share that at the end. We'll send you a digital copy of our book, Turn Leads into Patients. It's all about guiding you on how to increase your consult rate, which helps you grow your surgery volume. And then lastly, we're happy to do what we call a mystery shop, where we'll mystery shop your clinic and then send you a report that shows you how effective your new patient lead follow-up is. And we actually have throughout this presentation quite a few examples of our mystery shop. So here's what you're going to learn today. You're going to hear the big message about new patient lead follow-up. So we're going to kind of give you a global view or a 30,000-foot view of our follow-up. And then we'll talk about 3 myths about joyful persistence, about following up with new patient leads more than 1 or 2 times. And then lastly, we'll share some practical advice on how you could fix your follow-up problem. So the big message is this: you don't have a marketing problem, you have a lead follow-up problem. You cannot imagine the number of people I'll talk to in the sales process that ask questions related to marketing. Should I be doing more SEO? Should I be spending more on digital ads? Should I rebuild my website? Maybe you should evaluate those things. The vast majority of time, though, you don't have a marketing problem, you have a follow-up problem. So very likely what's happening with your clinic is you're spending anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000, or if you're a larger clinic, you're spending more on digital ads, just as one example. You got some Google pay-per-click ads targeting a specific type of patient. Maybe you've got some Facebook and Instagram ads, and you're spending valuable resources on those ads, driving new patient volume, but you're not seeing more consults or surgeries because you have a leaky bucket. Your follow-up with those new leads is so ineffective that it makes you feel like you need to spend more money on marketing, when in reality, your follow-up process might be a phone call, might be an automated email. I'll show you some really bad automated emails that we see very regularly here shortly. Maybe your staff makes a second phone call, but the reality is you're not following up enough, and we're going to talk about that. Giving up on a new patient lead after 1 or 2 attempts is like lighting your marketing budget on fire. You're wasting your dollars. And it's not very likely that you have bad marketing. What's very, very likely is that you have a lead follow-up problem. So here's a great example of a mystery shop. This happened to be for a company that owned 32 clinics. Maybe you have 1 clinic. Maybe you have 2 locations. The same is true, and we've mystery shopped thousands of clinics, and it doesn't matter if they're big or small. We see this very commonly. So response rate, out of the 32 clinics we mystery shopped, 26 clinics never followed up at all. Of the 6 clinics that did reply, their first outreach was 12 hours later. And then specific to today's webinar, which would be joyful persistence, none of the clinics made a second attempt to reach out. So obviously it's a problem when 26 out of 32 clinics don't respond at all. But the 6 who did not only responded too slowly, 12 hours, should be 60 seconds or faster, but their follow-up attempts was singular. They didn't follow up multiple times. So why does this problem exist? We see this over and over and over again. Oftentimes it's all of these things. Maybe for you it's 1 or 2 of these things. Incoming calls are prioritized over online inquiries. So you have someone sitting at the front desk, they're extremely busy, and they just can't get to it. They're prioritizing phone calls, and they're not responding to digital leads. Your staff is busy. They're doing other things. This is the most common thing. It's not like in most cases clinics want to be bad at follow-up. It's that the people that they put in place are oftentimes wearing 5 different hats, and therefore they do not have the necessary resources or time to do effective follow-up. And then lack of sales mindset. This is a big one. There's probably no one in your clinic who woke up first thing in the morning and looked forward to being a salesperson, right? And so that's a real challenge when their role and responsibility is following up with your new patient leads, which is very much a sales conversation, which is very much about convincing them to show up for a consult. Online inquiries require a different strategy, different set of technology, different level of communication, different level of automation. And so oftentimes that's a major issue in terms of why lead follow-up is so ineffective. And then lastly, marketing is visible and follow-up is invisible. So marketing can oftentimes be tangible. We spent $1,000 on the meta ad. I can see the meta ad. And so it gives you this kind of security. I can see it. Follow-up can be invisible, especially if you're not mystery shopping yourself and if you don't really have a good grasp on what your follow-up looks like. So staff wearing multiple hats, man, I don't have time for this. They do finally get a good consult, but someone's standing in front of them, emails are coming in, someone's out sick, so they're filling in, and they're like, okay, I'll hustle and get you scheduled. So just really not having enough time to focus on it, lack of a sales mindset. Like I said, they're not waking up in the morning looking forward to having a sales conversation. Online inquiries require a different approach. We see this over and over and over again. This is the email automation I mentioned earlier. I always crack up when I see this. It's like it's a hot lead. I'm interested in this particular surgery. What's in my next step? When can I get on your schedule? And the email they get back is, we'll contact you in 1 to 2 business days. I'll assure you that is a bad approach. But that is something we see very, very often. So here's something to consider on the spend more marketing dollars versus just get better at the new leads. So here's the opportunity you have. Let's say you're getting 200 on leads a month, right? Coming from different digital ads, websites, whatever. And you're converting 40 of those rather to a consultation. So 20% consult rate, which is, that's not bad. And then you're getting 30 new patient consultations, completed. So 40 scheduled, 30 show up. And so you've got 200 leads coming in, you got a 20% lead to consult rate, and then your show rate is 30%. So here's your story. Well, what if instead of spending more money on digital ads, see right here, this 10,000, instead of spending 20,000, instead of spending 15,000, what if you just worked on your follow-up, made it better, and you bumped your lead to consult rate to 50, and then your show rate from 30 to 38? Your revenue is going to go up, and guess what? You didn't spend any more money. And so that is the opportunity that you have. So just quickly as an overview of what we refer to as the 6 principles of follow-up, you've got speed, you got to respond within 60 seconds, 24/7. Persistence, joyful persistence, that's what we're talking about today. Don't give up, follow up for weeks and months at a time. Follow up multiple channels, not just one phone call. Got to use technology, people, channels, and organizations, and we'll unpack those things in future webinars. And here's a visual of what we call our patient conversion system that kind of dives a bit deeper into speed, speed to lead, what we call joyful persistence, the people side, channels, tech, and organization. So let's talk about some myths around joyful persistence. So myth number 1, my staff is already following up enough. We hear this a lot from doctors particularly, where they just kind of in the back of their mind think that follow-up is really good. It's, they think they know what it looks like. And in reality, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, they're really kind of disengaged from reality. And so again, I mentioned we've mystery shopped thousands of clinics. We see this over and over and over again. So here's an example. All 6 practices that followed up made only 1 attempt over a 7-day period. In this case, all 3 practices that followed up made only 1 attempt over a 7-day period. You get the idea. A lot of people are like one and done, and it's simply not enough. But what's tragic about this is that practice admin or the physicians, they think follow-up is much more aggressive when in reality, again, likely your staff is just trying to survive. And so it's like, okay, I made that phone call, check, I can move on to other things. And so simply put, 1 to 2 follow-ups is not enough. Without consistent touch points, valuable patients slip away, costing your practice. And this is the reality that you got to come to grips with. You work so hard on having a good marketing strategy, having a great patient experience when they show up for a consult and they decide to go to surgery. Maybe your post-op is very, very, very good. Maybe you're affordable. Like, you're focused on all these things to create a great experience for your practice or for your patients. And you're losing those opportunities because of your new patient follow-up. It's costing your practice thousands of dollars in missed opportunities. Persistent follow-up increases patient conversion by up to 30%. 80% of leads convert after 5 or more follow-ups. So if you're only calling 1 time, it's not sufficient. It's got to be 5, and we would argue even more than 5. How much revenue is your practice leaving on the table each month by not following up enough? Honestly, you could dig into your data, and you very likely could back into a clear understanding of the revenue you're leaving on the table. All right, myth number 2, I don't want to spam our patients. I hear this one all the time. Here's just some tangible examples of the feedback we get regularly. Hey, Maddie, I spoke with and gave you guys a good recommendation. So I guess after all these years, I'm finally ready to look at what you have to offer. What's the next step? This is someone we've been following up with for years, not just a week or 2, but years. So think about it. Potential patients opt in, raise their hand, and ask to be contacted. You're not spamming them. They've opted in to you communicating with them. Your new patient leads can unsubscribe at any time with a single click. It's super simple to opt out, just like it's easy to opt in. It's easy to opt out of communication. And so therefore, you don't need to worry about spamming people. Here's an objection we hear often. People are busy. It doesn't mean they're no longer interested. Consider your own buying behavior. There's a lot of buying decisions you make where you don't make that decision the first time you think about it and, it's over. Oftentimes, you'll think about something for a long time, then you'll get busy, you'll forget about it. And so you want to stay top of mind with these new patient leads because normal life is busy and you want to stay in front of them. So when they are ready to move forward, you're top of mind, ready to go, and they feel connected to you. And here are just some other examples of people. This patient literally said, "Hi, thank you for continually reaching out to me." And so it really does make a big impact. A couple more statistics for you. Studies show that thoughtful, multiple follow-ups increase conversion rate by 20 to 30%. Consistent follow-up can increase satisfaction scores by up to 20%. And 63% of patients appreciate personalized follow-ups. And that's another thing I might mention here. It's not just a matter of volume of follow-up, but it's also making it personalized and conversational. And that is a big difference between, what comes across and what feels like spam compared to what is personalized and conversational and what I might call human. And so don't just set up a bunch of automated, tech workflows that are cold and, clearly kind of copy and paste or cookie cutter. Has to be personalized. All right, myth number 3, why waste time on patients who don't respond right away? Here are some basic examples of saying, so we sent out, kept nurturing. This message said 1 year ago, you signed up to learn more about your options. Are you ready to take the next step and schedule a consultation? And this is 1 year later, and the patient says, yes, I'm ready. And so we're ready to move forward, booking the consultation. Following up, even when patients don't respond right away, signals that you're committed to their well-being and ready to support them whenever they're ready to engage. I think the thing that's so important in this particular point is you're really kind of communicating how valuable that new patient is to you by not just following up one time and then putting the ball back in their court. You're really stewarding that relationship and nurturing it in a way that builds trust and top of mind awareness and brand kind of awareness and to a degree loyalty. So it's a big deal. All right, action items. So mystery shop yourself. Don't ask your staff. If you're a doctor, if you're a practice admin, don't ask your staff. It's just human nature to want to cover your own backside. And sometimes we convince ourselves of things that are not true, and it's not even intentionally trying to not be honest. But the purest way that you can get an understanding of your own follow-up is mystery shop yourself, or ask us to mystery shop you, and we'll send you a mystery shop report. And then understand the status quo. Understand really the real implications of not effectively doing and having new patient follow-up. So ask yourself, is the status quo acceptable? Do you want to be a normal clinic? The thing that I will tell you and share with you is that, and I see this because truly we have mystery shopped over 1,000 clinics. You will be fundamentally different than your competitors if you have an intentional and robust follow-up process. If you have a poor follow-up process, you are the average of your competitors because they're all, 99% of them are terrible at follow-up. So if you want the status quo, then keep doing what you're doing. If you want to stand out and be different than your competitor and, improve the results of your clinic, then you'll make some adjustments to your follow-up process. What if you followed up with every lead 7 to 10 times before abandoning? What results would that give you in terms of lead to consult and consult to surgery? How would that grow your surgery volume? How many patients, how many consultations are you leaving on the table every month by not following up enough? Do you really need to spend more money on marketing? Or could you get more patients by simply following up better with the leads you already have? I will tell you, most of the clinics that we end up working with, they have good lead volume. I mean, some of them don't. Some of them need to also work on increasing lead volume. But the vast majority of them have great lead volume. And so the answer isn't, we'll just spend more money on marketing. A lot of times the answer is, no, let's just take care of the leads we have. What is the cost of not taking action to fix this problem? What are you leaving on the table? So some top reasons practices don't do this themselves. It's impossible to do manually. It doesn't matter how great your team is. Doesn't matter how many people on your team you have doing lead follow-up. It can't just be manual. You need technology. Oftentimes people don't realize how much it costs to miss even one opportunity per week. And so, again, do the math on that. Oftentimes people don't have a full-time person dedicated to this role. I've really said this so many times throughout the webinar, but I see it over and over again. Whoever's in charge of lead follow-up is also wearing 5 other hats. And this is the thing that drops through. They're filling in for another employee that's not there. They're answering inbound calls. They're helping fill out paperwork for those who are in the office, on and on and on and on. And then the person in this role isn't the right fit. They don't want to use technology, or they're not great on the phones, not good at asking questions. They don't like the joyful persistence. Again, oftentimes it's because they're busy, but they don't want to follow up 10 times in a week, over weeks and weeks at a time. And so these can be a lot of reasons why people don't do it themselves. So look, if you want to do this, maybe those aren't reasons that you can't do it yourself. Maybe you can do it yourself. You use this patient conversion system model as a checkbox, right? Start with speed to lead. How quickly are we getting back with people? You can implement a policy there. Joyful persistence. Let's text, let's email, let's phone call, and let's do that over, a multi-week point of time. Do we have the right people in place? If not, can we get the right people in place? What channels are we going to focus on for communication? What technology do we need to implement in order to support this follow-up? And then how are we organized? What's our pipeline look like? What's our CRM look like? What's our cadence of touch points going to look like? So there's a good workflow and a good standard and expectation of the team. So you can do this on your own. If not, I know a guy. You can hop on a call with me and we can fix it for you. If you want to fix it yourself, use this as a model. And so that's our webinar for today. So again, really appreciate you being here. If you will shoot me an email, let me get to that slide. Here's my email, cade@boostpatients.com. Would love to mystery shop your clinic for you. I would love to send you our book on basically our philosophy around this entire system, which would very much help you implement it on your own. Or if you just want to brainstorm, I'm happy to chat, to walk through best practices. I can show you some of the data that we see in our clinics and some of the impacts having good lead follow-up will have on your revenue, things like that. So thank you again for joining today. Really appreciate it, and look forward to connecting with you soon. Thank you.